people were smart. The people were smart. But there's always that one thing that should make you stand out. Oh, sorry, I thought it was a spider. Oh my god. I thought it was a spider. If you haven't watched my spider video, like I'm always paranoid in this car. Ba-ba-da-da. Welcome back, beautiful people, to yet another rumble. If you're new to my channel, I am not always this weird. I'm Jacqify, and I give rambling monologues or vlogs on different aspects of life and try to give tips on topics like education, lifestyle, and art, things that are very familiar to me. So if you're interested in that kind of content, make sure to hit the subscribe button, leave a comment with your questions. I always check my comments, so leave a comment on aspects that you want me to discuss, or if you want tips on different, something that comes up in my videos, just let me know and I'll give you my perspective on it. So let's get to the video. Today's video will be answering a question that I've been getting for the longest, like ever since I got into grad school. Like, this is the number one question that I get from most of my friends and even family. Like, how is it that you got into grad school to work towards your PhD, and you've not done a master's, or you've not worked for a few years to gain that work experience? And the answer to that is I really made a purposeful plan in undergrad to get that research experience, because I kind of knew in freshman year that I really did not want to go into a different field. Like, I really wanted to go to grad school, and to go to grad school for a PhD. So that was something that I purposed to do in my first year. So I really had this planned out, but it wasn't a straight journey. It wasn't even realizing what that I didn't want to go to med school, which was an option at some point in my life. Even realizing that was not as easy, and I feel like I have, this would be a nice way of sharing my story on how I was able to build my research experience, and even the process that I had to go through in order to get to where I am today. So stick around, there's some good stuff coming up. I came to the US in 2016, and I wanted to do biochemistry. I was passionate about biochemistry. It still intrigues me how the cell is such a small entity in our body, but it does all things that contribute to life. Like, it's the powerhouse of who we are. It's who we are, and it's always been intriguing learning about the cell and learning about the different aspects that the cell is involved in, specifically signaling and gene expression, how different reading different parts of the DNA leads to different phenotypes, different things that we see. How is it that we're getting blue-eyed versus brown-eyed individuals, yet the DNA that we share is essentially all the same, right? It's made up of the same things. So it's always been intriguing learning about biochemistry. And coming to the US, that was the main thing I really wanted to learn about it. But coming from a family that believes in doctors, I was like, oh yeah, I was always pressured, like, you should think about it, you should think about med school and see how that goes for you. So I had that option. I was thinking, maybe I can be a doctor. Who knows? I've never really interacted with patients before. I hate going to the hospital. Yeah, like, I really do. But at the back of my mind, I knew that was also an option. So when I came to Michigan State University, I wanted to try and see if medicine was in my plans. And one of the first things that you take was anatomy. So I enrolled in an anatomy class, and I was like, this will give me a good idea. Excuse me. This will give me a good idea of what I want to, whether I want to go into med school. Learning about the human body, easy enough. I mean, it's just looking at myself and then just this bone connected to that bone, that bone, right? Oh gosh. Shock on me. Like, the very first class I walked in, I walked into the very first class. The first 10 minutes, they're talking about distal, proximal, and I have no idea what they were saying. I was lost. I was lost the entire class. It was a 2-hour class, but honestly, my brain shut off at the distal, proximal, anatole. I can't remember. This was freshman year, y'all. During that class, I was like, this is not what I want to do. I do not see myself using this type of language. I do not see myself using, putting myself through learning all that. No, this is not for me. So I'm going the research route. So I had two things. I had med school and grad school. So med school, grad school. But at that point, I was like, yeah, this is not happening. So I went to the research route, and I remember going back to my dorm room, dropping that class straight up. I did not even think about it. I didn't think about it twice. I was like, I'm not doing medicine. I'm not going to med school. That was it. That was a determining factor for me. So after getting my class dropped, I started looking into research opportunities. I mean, I was coming from a background of banking, and banking, a little bit of finance, economics kind of thing, but so I really did not have a lot of biochemistry background where I could get a job straight and start working in a lab, for example. So I had to get some experience somewhere. So I started really looking for opportunities on campus. I emailed professors. I went to my college advisor, and she would recommend people to talk to, people to email, or she would send us emails every week, or this person is looking for somebody to work in their lab, this person is looking for an assistant, this person, all those. And I would email all my professors, all those professors that were looking for people. And of course, sometimes you don't get a reply. You send out 500 emails and nothing. And that was the thing that happened. Honestly, for that fall semester, I did not get any response on my emails. By the time I got to my second semester, now I was allowed to work, because so I came here on a scholarship, and for the first semester I was not allowed to work. The good thing, they were giving us a small stipend, so at least I was able to survive on that. But the second semester I was allowed to work now, so I could get a job, any job. And I was like, yo, I just need something to hold me down and I can volunteer in a lab to get the experience. So I got a job as a receptionist, and I worked that job probably the rest of the semester. But at the same time, I was still applying to jobs. Over the summer, I decided to stay on campus and work. It was actually a good thing, because it was at that time that most people are going home for their summer vacation, so most labs are empty. They are looking for people to work. So I decided to not go for a summer vacation and just stay on campus and work. So that's how I landed my first job. I was a lab tech in this lab, and it wasn't even really the biochemistry that I wanted to do, but it was a stepping stone. So I did that. I was working in a lab where we were looking at narrowing down the lethal dose range of some of the pesticides that are used in peach farms in Bath County in Michigan. And it was really fun, honestly. I got to learn a lot of transferable skills. I was even able to visit the orchids and enjoy the peaches. The farmers were really nice. We're trying to find a concentration that was good at killing the neonates and killing the larvae, but at the same time it wasn't toxic to humans. So like, it wasn't, leaving a lot of residue on the peaches, and obviously that leads to toxicity in humans. But it was an interesting job. We were only 3 people, so it was a lot of work. I did a lot of work on my own, and which gave me that independence, that I could do research on my own, figure things out on my own, because it was just my boss, a grad student who was graduating. So she actually graduated that summer. So in like a month of training me, she was gone. So I was, for some time, it was just me and my boss, and then we got another student. So yeah, I got a lot of experience from that. And while I was in that lab, as the summer was ending, I really wanted a lab that was looking at what is happening in the cell. Organismal biology is good, it's interesting, but I was really interested in cellular biology, molecular biology. So I started looking for places that I could volunteer and get some research experience, even if I don't get paid. So at this time I was getting paid in this lab, but I really, really wanted, even if it's getting like a volunteer position, it's fine as long as I get the research experience. I was able to get a job in the Department of Biochemistry and Molecular Biology, and I was paired to a postdoc in the lab, and we were doing amazing research. It was one of the labs that I learned a lot, like way much more than what I was getting in my classes. And that's the beauty of it. With doing research while still taking classes, you're applying what you're learning in class to your lab, and vice versa. So there are some things that I learned from my lab, and then they were explained in my classes, or I learned them from my lab classes, and then now I'm applying them in my research. So it was like a very nice interplay of the two, but I wasn't getting paid. So, and that was a kind of a, oh, I'm sorry, I thought I saw something, and that was a kind of a big deal for me, because expenses. A girl's gonna eat. So yeah, I tried to do as much as I could with the little time that I had. And then after a year, so I volunteered for a year, so 2 semesters, one academic year, and made a presentation at one of the big symposiums that we have in Michigan State. And from that presentation, I went to my boss in the backend department. I was like, yo, my work is good. But now but technically that's exactly how I went to him. Like, I've been doing this work, I've been dedicated 10 hours a week. I come here every day. I'm always on time. The quality of my work is superb. I would like to join the lab for pay. I want more responsibilities rather than the mundane stuff that I was doing. I did everything from cleaning dishes to running errands to at the bench work, writing, proofreading. I did everything. I did a lot, and at the time I was the only undergrad in the lab, so all the work comes to me. And then talked to him, and he was like, okay, fine, that's fine. I was like, oh, okay. I guess it's fine. And at the time I was asking him this, it was just before summer of the next year of my sophomore year, the end of my sophomore year. And at that time I had an internship back in Kenya. So I went back home for my internship. I did my internship, and this all these things build up the experience and build up the CV. Because I'm as much as I'm doing all this mundane, seemingly mundane stuff, they're adding up to a really good CV. Transferable skills that I'm learning from all this, being able to manage my time, being able to work in different work environments, like all these things are contributing to having a really good CV. After my talk with my professor, I went to Kenya for my internship. I had an internship with the Biotechnology Research Institute. The lab that I was supposed to go to, they were just setting up, so they did not have projects. So my PI, my scientist in that lab, assigned me to a different lab where they had projects already going. I was involved in a project that was studying the pathogenicity of trypanosomia of trypanosomes in sleeping sickness. Basically, we were learning about sleeping sickness and how the parasite infects the tissues, and how that affects the overall health of humans. And we were using the mice, so that gave me the experience of using mice, right? Which was helpful for grad school, because now I use mice for my research. If you follow me on Instagram at there, you've probably seen a few videos of mice dissections and stuff like that. So all these things were adding up. So I did my internship, came back to the US, did a presentation on the research that I was doing there. And even when I was there, I was also exposed to different types of research being done in Kenya. So it wasn't just that one thing that I was concentrating on. It was that one thing plus all these other things that are happening around. So by the time I come back, it was I had a lot of reason. I had a lot of experience in and outside of the lab. When I came back to the US, I obviously went back to the lab. Now I'm getting paid, which was lower than my previous lab, but I'm getting work experience. I did that for another 2 years. So doing research, getting presentations out. I ended up resigning from the previous lab and just focus all my energy to this. So I was working like 20 hours, which is the maximum you can work as an international student in the US. So I was working actually 19. And as I worked in that lab, I was also working part-time as an undergrad research ambassador, where I was helping students find research opportunities on campus, because I had gone through the whole sending 500 emails and not getting a reply. So I was in a position where I could help other people, and I did that for 2 years as well. I was also part of the Dean's Research Scholars Program, which is essentially talking to donors and alumni and telling them about your research. So that also took some time. I mean, it wasn't that much of work, which was really good, and they gave you a stipend, which is really good. But the thing with that one, I got to travel the US and see some really beautiful places, meet some really interesting people as well. So it was work, but it was a bit more chilled, which was really fine. The ambassador job, it was a lot of workshops, doing workshops with students, doing one-on-one consultations with students, helping them navigate all the things that are involved in looking for these opportunities and all that. So I did all this concurrently. So I'm doing like three jobs at the same time, and I'm a full-time student. So it was a lot. I did not have time for anything. Like, honestly, by the time the weekend comes in, you're so tired. And then obviously you want to spend time with friends and all that, but the good thing, my friends, we would go to IHOP at 4 a.m. and because that's the only time we have free, because they're also doing their thing. So we just go to IHOP at 4 a.m. for breakfast and then come back. I did not have a social life in college. but I think it was worth it. So yeah, I did 3 jobs during those 2 years, and they are all contributing to different aspects of undergrad research. That's the thing, it doesn't have to always be in a lab. I feel like when you're doing your application, they will look at it wholesomely. I tried to make my resume as wholesome as I could, so that by the time I'm getting to grad school applications, no one else has that combination. I will stand out from that pool, because everybody will be smart. I mean, there are people who are much smarter than I am. I'm not even kidding. Like, even now in grad school, there are people who are smart. But there's always that one thing that should make you stand out. Oh, sorry, I thought it was a spider. Oh my god, I thought it was a spider. If you haven't watched my spider video, like, I'm always paranoid in this car. So, I mean, COVID really cut everything short, and I had to leave Michigan in March, but I think I left with enough that really helped me in my application. And also, to all of these things, I had really good recommendation letters, I had really good essays, I had a really good CV. So these 3 things were like the things that really helped me out, and I was so appreciative of the fact that everybody came together to help me out with my application. So having that network really helped me out. There's so many things, there's so many aspects of it, and I don't know what really, convince all the schools that I got into that I'm a good candidate. Could be a whole combination of things, could be one thing from all the things that I've talked about, but it happened and I'm here. So that's all I had for today. If you liked this video and found it helpful, then you'll probably like this video that has tips on some of the things that I mentioned. Just like a summary of it, and some of the things I did that will help you in your grad school applications. Until next time, Jacqify out.